G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Draw with Jazza. I'm Jazza and this is a video tutorial where we're going to be doing some full body animation on this clip that we're working on. Now this is part of a series where I've done lots of other bits to this animation, including the animatic and setting up the file, the lip syncing, the background and all of that. And now we're pretty much up to one of the last bits to do before doing the publishing and rendering. And that is the full body animation. And so this is fairly complex. I'm going to go through and show you what I've got so far. So I'm just going to lock and wireframe my camera. So I've got the animation of these two characters on the left done. So if I play through.
Oh, hey guys, what's up? Oh, so what computer games have you been playing lately?
I play Minecraft.
Oh.
So you get the idea. The camera moves around. You can see where the camera goes. So I've done that in the other tutorial. And we're going to be working on this guy on the right. And so I'm going to divide this tutorial into three parts. The first part is going to be very minimalistic head movement. The second part is going to be simple hand movements and animation. And then the third part will be full body motion. Now it's all going to be in one video. When I say parts, I just mean I'll be focusing on three separate things in the tutorial in order of quickest to do and achieve to more complex. And so if I enter my body here, you can see that I've got everything I've done in here so far on their layers. So inside the head layer, I've got all the lip syncing and all the facial animation that we've done. If I go outside of that, I've got all the body parts on different layers in different graphics, untouched, because I haven't animated them yet. So I also have my camera cues up here. So the camera's on Greg there.
I play Minecraft.
And then we have all.
Oh, choice, hey bro. What about you, Petey?
So where he goes, where Petey begins talking, which is right here.
I love Dota 2.
I'm going to have simple head movement animation. I'm not going to move his body at all. And this is really simple because I've already set it all up so it's good to go. So the head clip is all in one graphic and inside that is the lip syncing, which means that I can move the head around without really affecting anything we've done. Okay, so I'll move the pivot to a place that's appropriate. And so often the thing that I kind of use as a bit of an idea of what to follow in terms of how to move the head is if the voice goes up and the expression kind of raises in volume, I bring the head up a little bit, or if it goes down, I bring it down. And the other thing too is if there's an accentuated moment, I do a bit of a sharper movement. So
I love Dota 2.
So I'll have I love Dota 2. So I'll have I love, his head will go up a little bit.
I love.
So through about that distance, I'll hit F6. So you can see how much it moves up there. And I'm going to add a classic tween in between these and ease it out. So
I love the.
So you can see he's raised his head.
I love Dota.
And then on 2, he's just going to bop his head down quickly. So there are two parts to this. First and foremost, it's got to go down fairly quickly. So I'll just give it like 3 or so frames. Okay, so it goes down over 3 frames. And then over a longer period of frames, maybe 8 to 10, I'm going to have it go up very slightly. Reason being is if I add the tween to both of these, and then I ease in the first one and ease out the second one, what it does is it speeds up over a very short period of time and then kind of bounces. So it gives it a bit of weight.
Dota 2.
Okay, so rather than just having it go immediately down and stop, if something kind of juts down,
Dota 2.
it adds a bit of motion and kind of elasticity to the character, makes it feel a bit more physical if he kind of bounces around when he moves sharply. So we have these two motions here.
I love Dota 2.
Okay, so quite simply we've added a bit of expression there.
It's really quite good.
Okay, so I add one last little head movement.
It's really.
So I have the head just pop up as he's speaking a bit pompously and ease it out. And let's watch this.
It's really quite good. Oh.
Okay, so I'm happy with that. And that is the conclusion of the simple head animation segment, where you can take the graphic, which has all the animation inside it, and because when we control that graphic in itself, we get so much flexibility because
I love Dota 2.
We get all the motion of the head and all of it's kind of self-contained, and then we can move the whole thing together.
It's really quite good.
So there you go. So that's the first bit. Then we're moving along, and now we're going to start mucking around with the hands.
Yes, you play on a team of 5 against another team of 5, and you defend your ancient from the enemy team. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so I should add a little bit more head animation here.
Yes, you play on a team of 5 against another team of...
And then on here when he says 5, I'll have his head go down. Ease it out.
Team of 5, and you defend your ancient from the enemy team.
Yeah, from what I hear, it's quite
Okay, so here is where we're going to have more motion. It's around frame 575. So in the main timeline, I want to go to frame 575, about here, and I want to show the camera because I need to see exactly how much movement I have. Okay, so now that I've taken the camera off of wireframe,
Select a hero from a vast pool.
okay, so you can see I've got this specific area of movement. Now I'm going to hide everything but PD and the camera, and I'll show Greg because he's in the corner there. Okay, so now I'll go inside the PD graphic, and we can see that this is where the camera is kind of beginning.
Select a hero from a vast pool of champions.
Okay, so now I'm ready to get into hand animation, but before I do that, I'll do a quick little bit of head movement. So
Select a hip. Select a hip.
So hero, I'll have him pop his head up a bit, ease it out. I generally like to ease out because it adds a bit of just a smooth sort of motion. It looks a bit cartoony.
Select a hero from a vast pool of champions, each with a handful of unique ability.
I have the head pop down, ease out.
Select a hero from a vast pool of champions, each with a handful of unique abilities, and a limited time to...
And I'll have the head go down on a limited time.
And a
Limited time.
Limited time to earn money, which can be sped up by last hitting enemy.
See here, we've got the eyebrows popping up and the pupils kind of dilating. So I use that as a bit of a signal to raise his head, because then it makes it look like he's looking up.
By last hitting enemies.
There you go. So it kind of brings it all into one cohesive motion.
By last hitting enemies. Your hero's ability.
Okay, so here's another little trick that I use, is adding 2 keyframes, keeping it in the same place, and then one between them, more towards the left, bringing it up a little bit. I add the tween between both of them,
Your hero's
and it adds a little bit of a nod. And I can do that thing where I ease in and then ease out. And so we get this little jut.
Your hero's abilities are gained and improved as you level up the cap.
And then I'll have
The cap.
on the cap, his head go down, ease out.
Cap of which is level 25.
And then as his eyes go across, I'll have one last look up. Okay, so he's got a bit of a long spiel here, but I've finished the head for that segment, and let's watch it, see if it's satisfying to us.
Select a hero from a vast pool of champions, each with a handful of unique abilities, and a limited time to earn money, which can be sped up by last hitting enemies. Your hero's abilities are gained and improved as you level up, the cap of which is level 25.
Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is animating the hand. So this is a little bit more complex because we're going to be doing some frame by frame animation. So I'm going to select the layer where the backhand is, right here. I'm going to lock everything and wireframe everything except for that layer. Now, as I did with my other tutorials with this animation, I zoomed to specifically 400% so that my line weights are all the same. And now I'm going to add a layer under the back arm, and I'm going to call this arm sketch. Okay. So I'm going to first signify what I want the arm to do. Okay, so I'm going to select a light grey, and I'm going to find where I want the first bit of movement.
Select a hero from a vast pool of champions.
Okay, so about here, vast pool of champions. I'm going to delete that keyframe, and using my onion skin on the frame, on the layer below, I'm going to show you what I want the arm to be doing when it moves up. So it's going to move up into this position. So he's going to have a bit of a stating a fact hand. That's what that hand signifies. Okay, so it can be really sketchy, doesn't matter.
Of champions, each with a handful of unique abilities.
Okay, so I'll bring this so it goes up
A
earlier.
vast pool of champions.
About vast
From a vast pool.
earlier. So
From a vast pool of champions, each with a hand.
okay, so as he says handful, I'm going to have his arm raised slightly and have his hand go into a fist.
With a handful of unique abilities and a limited time to it.
Okay. And then for limited time, I'm going to have him open his palm.
Full of unique abilities and a
So again with onion skin. So have the hand kind of roll out.
and a limited time to earn money, which can be sped up by money, which can be sped up.
Now I'll do another movement here for when he says sped up, and I'll have it go up again. Maybe I should use the same. No, I won't. Let me think. I'll play it through and imagine things.
Abilities and a limited time to earn money, which can be sped up by last hitting enemies.
Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have the palm kind of come in front of the arm. Something like that.
Which can be sped up by last hitting enemies. You're sped up by last hitting enemies.
And then I'll have one more change here.
Hitting enemies.
Okay, so we've got the basic motions, and I think after this I'll just bring his hand down.
Last hitting enemies. Your hero's ability.
Okay, so after this, his arm will just return to the lowered position. Like this.
Your hero's abilities are gained and improved at.
Okay, so I'm happy with that. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hand positions. Okay? So for the next step, now I'm going to draw the first one normally, like this. So I'll go through and do my whole normal process so you can see how I go about it. First thing I'm going to be doing is drawing the line work, like this. So I'm going through all my sketches and making it look more refined, ready for the next step. Now, the first thing I'm going to be doing is going through and adding the refined line work above each of these key positions. I think there are 5 or 6 of them. So after that, I'm going to be adding keyframes between them, similar to like we did for the facial animation, where I add a new keyframe, and using the wireframe, I fill the in-betweens between the two motions. So I'm going to speed up this process so you can see how I do it. And then after I draw the in-betweens line work, I'm going to do the coloring. So to do the coloring, it's pretty simple. Basically, you eyedrop the color, whether from the palette or the frame before, and then paste it in place. And you want to make sure all the gaps are filled so that it colors the thingy in the line work. And when I color, I make sure my brush is set to paint behind, so that whenever I draw with my brush to define where the where the color lines are, it doesn't go over my line art. So that's the first frame created. I'm going to go through, create the other frames. I'm going to go do the in-betweens, and I'll do the colors, and then I'll resume at the normal pace when we've got that finished. Okay, so I've finished animating that and colouring it, and what I've done as well is I've smoothed the frames between them by adding extra frames and just kind of doing tweaks so that it moves closer to the next frame. So you can see here, what I've got here is a bit of a blurry looking hand. It's a bit more rubbery looking, and in doing that, it gives it a bit more of a faster motion sort of look in the animation.
From a vast...
Okay, so it's kind of hardly seen. Obviously his hand does not look like that. It looks more like that. But in doing that, it makes it look rubbery and adds a bit more motion. Now I'm going to do a tutorial on this specifically in the future because it's quite a common animation technique. That aside, you can see that this hand and this hand are the same, these frames. But I've just tweaked it so that it's adding kind of frames and motion like these without having to redraw them. So I do that after I colour it. And I've done that for most of these frames, so I've kind of added kind of smoothing frames, if you'd call it that. And so let's watch it from here and see what it looks like. I'll unwireframe these.
From a vast pool of champions, each with a handful of unique abilities and a limited time to earn money which can be sped up by last-hitting enemies. Your hero's abilities are gained and improved.
Okay, so that is the segment complete. Now, for the next bit, what I'm going to be doing is I need, again, to see where the camera will be. So I have to go out and I'll find the next bit I want to animate, and I'm going to go into a bit more full body animation. So I'm going to hit play.
Select a hero from a vast...
Oh, I'll skip ahead a bit.
But the cap of which is level 25.
So you're pretty into Dota 2 there.
There are 3
Okay, so here, he really spices up his energy.
There are 3 channels between the team bases which have towers defending them. Each base spits out troops which you...
Okay, so when he goes, each space spits out troops which you cannot control.
Each base spits out troops which you cannot control.
I want his full body to lunge forward in excitement. Okay, so we have a section here, about that big, where the camera's a bit too zoomed in on his actual head.
There are 3 channels between the team bases which have towers defending them.
Okay, so I'm going to have one motion. No, sorry, I'm going to enter the clip. So this is where the intense animation begins. I'm going to use my sketch layer underneath. Okay, so as you can see where the camera is, actually I have to go across. So this is exactly where the camera is going to end up for this zoomed in segment. So I'm going to zoom into 400% so I can get a better look. There we go. Okay, and I need to pick where his body is going to go. So I'm going to do a little bit of a cheat. I'm going to go back here and pick... I'm going to steal these frames. I'm going to come back here.
There are 3 channels.
and I'm going to paste them. So just making sure there's no animation. Okay, cool. Oops, I lost my place. So I'm gonna just paste them in there.
There are 3 channels.
Oops, I don't want to lose that last frame. There we go.
There are 3 channels between the team.
Okay, so we have his hand go up in excitement.
There are 3 channels between the team bases.
So let's add a bit of head movement for some dynamics.
There are
So when he goes 3 channels,
3 channels.
we'll tip his head back. Ease it out.
There are 3 channels between the team bases.
I want a more extreme ease out, so I hit this pencil here and I can just pull the ease in this direction, which makes it more drastic.
There are 3 channels between the team bases which have towers defend.
We have his head go up a little bit more. Over here, add a tween, ease it out.
Towers defending them.
Okay, so I'm going to go back over here to where my hand, sorry, and I'm going to steal the fist. So I'm just kind of reusing these.
Between the team bases which have towers defend.
About here. Oops. Okay, so this is what we've got.
There are 3 channels between the team bases which have towers defending them. Each.
Okay, so I've done this segment where it's zoomed in on his head, and you can see it really didn't take me that long. I just added a tween to the head so he has a bit of motion there and reused those hands. But now we're going to get into a much more time-consuming section. So I'm going to go out to the main timeline, and find how big the camera is. Okay, so that's where the camera is for this next segment where I'm going to be animating more of his body. So I'm going to go back inside his clip now that the camera is in view. I'm going to zoom out just for my sketches. Excuse me. And I am going to do sketches of how I want him to stand.
Each base.
Okay, so when he goes each base, he's going to lunge forward. Okay, so I'm going to F7 all of this. And using onion skin so I can see the frame before, I'm going to hide the head as well. And on the sketch layer, I'm simply going to draw how I want him to lunge. So it's going to be like his head will probably be around here. His body will be here and his leg will have lunged forward. Now because the camera, actually I'll bring him a bit more forward. Because the camera cuts off down here at the bottom, I can actually just not draw anything past that. So it's a bit of a time saver. And now I'm just sketching in where the arms go.
Each base spits out troops which you cannot control. Each base spits out troops which you cannot Each base spits out troop. Each base spits out troop.
Okay, so he lunges forward.
Each base spits out troop.
Spits out troops. Where he lunges.
Each base spits out troops which you cannot control.
So I'm going to have his arm go across in the course of this animation until his body
spits out troops which you cannot control.
Until it's a bit. Oops. Till he's leaned forward to. Let's give him a more drastic movement. Bring him forward a bit. Rotate him a little bit. So by here, the arm should be a little more like this.
It spits out truths which you cannot control.
Okay. So I have two poses here, two keyframe positions.
Spits out truths which you cannot control.
Okay, so my next job is to, like I did with the arm, and I won't go through the whole process because it'll take a lot longer, I draw the line work of the whole body except for the head. I'll just draw the base because the head's going to just pop on top. I'm going to use this head. So I draw the base position there in the line work. I draw the line work of this position as well. I'll bring this forward like this. And then I draw the keyframes between them by using the onion skin to draw the in-betweens. And then I do the color. And so I'll speed up the process so you can see how that goes. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I've finished animating the body as I've outlined it. So I've done these frames specifically. I'll zoom out so you can see a bit better. Okay. So, except the head, I've done the body lunging forward to that first position and then into the second position. Now, what I'm thinking of doing is combining them both into one and then having him half come up back a little bit. So first thing is first, I'm going to make these frames doubles. Basically, it slows down the motion and makes a little bit more use of the new frames that I drew. Okay, so I'm going to see what it looks like putting that over here and putting them together. And with the audio,
It spits out truth which you cannot control. It spits out truth.
Okay, I'm going to put singles in the middle here and then doubles on the ends.
Spits out truth which you can.
Singles.
Spits out truth which you can. Spits out truth which you cannot control.
And then I'll bring it back in a little bit.
Cannot control. You cannot control. You cannot.
Okay, so I'm quite happy with that motion.
Spits out truth which you cannot control.
Okay, so now I'm going to remove this blank keyframe where the head is and start adding motion to the head. So new keyframe for each new keyframe of the body and have it follow the motion that I've got going there. down. Okay. I'm quite happy with that. Let's watch it in context.
It's that truth which you cannot control.
Okay, I'm going to have the head bounce back up a little bit. Ease it out and watch that.
It's that truth which you cannot
Okay, then again, these frames will move it up. And he'll be looking back up to the horizon sort of thing. Maybe I'll give it one more body bit. There we go. Now watch this in context.
Each base spits out truth which you cannot control. It's
Okay, I'm quite happy with that. So now if I zoom out and back into the main timeline, I'll watch it put together.
There are 3 channels between the team bases which have towers defending them. Each base spits out truth which you cannot control. It's
Okay, so I'm really happy with that. I can now go back into the body of this guy and delete my sketch layer because I won't be needing that anymore. And you can see I created that motion and I'm quite happy with how that looks. So that, ladies and gentlemen, will do for the tutorial for now. So we went through first just doing simple head motion animation, then we did the arm animation, and then we did some full body work. I hope you learnt a bit from this tutorial and enjoyed yourself. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I will see you later. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoy my videos. You can download the reference files from this tutorial by clicking the link in the description. And remember to share any art, animation or game you make on Newgrounds.com. Until next time, see you later.